do trust you're having yourself a fantastic evening and you're taking care of yourselves at this time that the world is grappling with many cases of coronavirus or coronavirus pandemic. Right now, as we speak, the world did top 1.8 million cases, having about 111,000 deaths recorded. And at the same time, there are over 400,000 cases of 400,000 rather cases of recoveries that have been reported on the bulletin tonight. We have quite a lot in store for you. Of course, we'll be telling you the numbers here in the country, the East African community. Of course, we do understand 6 more cases tested positive today, bringing the number 297. And of course, social distancing really being lauded as one of the ways that is helping the numbers of flattening of the curves for many nations. And as we speak, of course, it is a good Sunday for UK. The UK Prime Minister has been discharged from the hospital. He had been taken to ICU on Monday after the coronavirus symptoms really became too serious, and now he is at home, and that's a breakthrough as far as coronavirus is concerned. Before we get straight to our broadcast tonight, let's have a look at the latest numbers, how they are, because the World Health Organization did estimate that before the end of probably next week, we will be able to record at least 2 million cases of COVID-19, and now we stand at 1.8 million cases. If we start with Africa, and of course, Kenya, the latest numbers stand at 164 active cases. This means that when you subtract the number of recoveries and the deceased, then the active cases right now are at 164, but the total number is 195. When you have a look at our neighboring Tanzania, they have a total of 32 cases of COVID-19, 24 active, 3 have died from the virus, 5 have recovered from the virus. And then let's have a look at Ethiopia. There are 58 cases, active cases of COVID-19. Of course, a total of 71 cases, 3 have died from the virus, and 10 have recovered. When you compare these countries, of course, Kenya has more higher number of people who have recovered. At the same time, they have the highest, or we do have the highest number of confirmed cases of COVID-19. Let's have a look at Somalia, 21 cases as at now, 18 active, 1 died from the virus, and 2 have recovered from that. Probably if we have a look at China, remember this is the where the first case was reported back in 2019, December, and they have 82,000 total case, and of course 1,138 active cases, 3,339 people have died, and of course 77,575 have recovered from this virus. And probably we can come to India. 7,000, there are a total number of 9,000. This is China. Let's get to India. 7,780 active cases, and we have 325 deaths. 1,061 have recovered from the virus. And of course, remember, these numbers are determined by the ability of every nation to be able to test. And of course, the country, Kenya, will be beginning the mass testing of COVID-19 cases. And early this week, we saw the government saying, maybe trying to explain why Kenya seemed to be at the top of the list in the East African community, because we have a better testing capacity for COVID-19. But this week we saw the numbers really reducing, because we've improved the testing capacity of COVID-19 from, let's say, about 700 cases tested. We managed to have 5 positive cases. When we compare to last week, when only 500 were tested, we had about 29 people testing positive. So are we in this journey, or are we really in the right path when, as far as flattening this curve is concerned? We will be giving you details of that and much more. Later on the show, we'll be having a look at the special group in our society, the plight of the people with hearing impairment, how this COVID-19 has been able to affect them, how they are coping, especially the fact that they can only communicate via expressions. And of course, we know every person has to use the mask, the communication, every person now, we have a curfew, people staying at home. How is it like for them business-wise and also relating with their neighbors, friends, and families? That and much more tonight on Channel 1 News Weekend. Feel free to be part of this conversation at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News. The hashtag is Channel 1 Weekend. Let's first have a look at the highlights. The nationwide COVID-19 cases rise to 297, with 6 more testing positive as one succumbs to the disease. Easter celebrations went on quietly as faithful follow proceedings from home amid strict measures to contain the coronavirus spread. And the spotlight shines on the Salaries and Remuneration Commission after its rejection of special allowances to healthcare workers leading the war against COVID-19. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Purity Museo and Lensa Odingo is our sign language interpreter. Tonight, the total number of people who have tested positive for coronavirus in the country now stands at 197. This is after 6 new cases were registered in the last 24 hours. Sadly, another life has been lost as a result of the virus, bringing the total number of fatalities to 8 over the same period. One person was cleared coronavirus-free, raising the tally of recoveries to 25. Nancy Okware has that report.
The number of fatalities in the country as a result of coronavirus has risen to 8 after one more person succumbed to the deadly virus. Through a statement sent to newsrooms, the Ministry of Health says the deceased is from Siaya County. The 59-year-old man was a Kenya Ports Authority employee based in Mombasa. He is said to have traveled Sunday last week alongside his wife and 2 daughters from Mombasa to Siaya, making stopovers in Nairobi and Kisumu. He will self-isolate as soon as he arrived home in Ukwala until Friday morning, when he was rushed to hospital after persistent coughs. Sadly, he died in the evening and tests done on his blood samples showed he was infected with COVID-19. The Ministry of Health says a total of 766 samples tested in the last 24 hours revealed that 6 people have the virus, bringing the nationwide tally to 197. 5 of the new cases are Kenyan and are distributed in the counties of Nairobi, Mombasa and Siaya. Over the same period, one more person was discharged from hospital after registering 2 consecutive negative results. This means that the number of recoveries in the country stands at 25. The ministry has so far monitored 2,160 contacts, out of which 1,660 have been discharged after completion of the 14-day mandatory quarantine, with 500 being monitored currently. Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
That coronavirus pandemic has greatly affected how humans live is no longer in question, yet it seems that the outbreak has also altered the way of worship has been conducted over the years. The Easter celebrations have been greatly impacted by the pandemic, and the festival is being marked in silence as a result of the strict measures put in place by governments in a bid to contain the coronavirus spread. Such has been the situation in major Christian denominations as the clergy are forced to conduct their services virtually. Safin Acheng Oma reports.
Contrary to the norm, this year's Easter celebrations have been marked in silence, courtesy of the strict measures employed to contain the spread of coronavirus, which continues to ravage the globe. Measures that have disrupted several activities, including religious traditions. The Holy Family Basilica was almost empty, save for a few members who turned up to facilitate the Easter Sunday Mass, which was streamed online and was presided over by His Grace Anthony Muheria, the Archbishop of Nyeri, together with His Eminence Cardinal John Jue. Amid the pandemic, Cardinal Jue remains hopeful that the disruption caused by the contagion will soon be a thing of the past.
I would not imagine celebrating the year Paschal mystery in an empty basilica. However, I have been praying for you, especially during this Paschal Triduum, And I am very optimistic that this disruption of our Christian life will come to an end as soon as possible.
In his Easter sermon, Archbishop Muheria noted that the resurrection of Christ should bestow hope upon mankind to overcome all challenges, including the coronavirus.
Kristo amefufuka kwa nguvu, ameshinda ili hata sisi tuweze kushinda uovu, dhambi, mauti, hata mabaya ya maisha kama huu ugonjwa ambao umetukumba sasa hivi.
He called on Kenyans to shun greed and mark this year's Easter by giving to the poor and the vulnerable members of the society.
This Easter is a moment to give one tunic if you have two, one lunch if you have two, give rent waiver, give the fuel money saved to assist the house help, half of your meat portion to give to the needy, but without cameras.
A similar situation was witnessed at All Saints Cathedral, a constant feature being the empty benches, with a handful of members attending this unique mass, maintaining social distance. The sermon was rich in hope, as Kenyans were encouraged to remember that God remains in charge, even in these difficult times.
As we celebrate resurrection, we are reminded that the God of resurrection, that the God of Easter, when he breaks into the scene, he releases us into our divine purposes. And by the way, when he does that, he does not need to consult anyone.
In the meantime, a small gathering of faithfuls was witnessed at ACK Mbeere Diocese as they celebrated Easter Sunday. The Mass was only attended by 7 priests and 4 worshippers. Right Reverend Dr. Moses Mashamba encouraged residents to pray from their homes as they observed the government's directives on COVID-19. During the unique church service, worshippers picked the Holy Sacrament individually, contrary to the norm.
Tunashukuru serikali yetu ya Kenya kwa vile wanatushughulikia vizuri na kutulinda, na pia kuona kila mwananchi amelindwa kutokana na hizi virusi la corona.
For Channel 1 News, I'm Safin Acheng Oma.
And it was a departure from the past for Christians as they kept off churches during celebrations to mark Easter Sunday in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Most churches adopted technology, opting to stream their services online with messages of faith, hope, and the need to share with the less fortunate, characterizing proceedings.
Empty pews and altars characterize most churches in the world on Easter Sunday, as church leaders implemented a government directive banning gatherings in the wake of COVID-19 outbreak, shattering a long-standing tradition among Christians who celebrate the solemn liturgies of the Triduum, meaning 3 days preceding Easter, which commemorate the institution of the Eucharist and the Passion, Death and Resurrection celebrated as Easter.
On normal occasion, this church will be full to capacity with up to 8,000 congregants who come here to worship. But due to the government's directive of no congregations, today they opted for online services.
Many churches across the country, like the Christian Foundation Fellowship, were completely empty, with the presiding pastor sharing his sermon from his house.
And we want to encourage all our faithfuls to please heed the directives of the government, so that we may be able to defeat this pandemic.
It was the same script, different cast at the Anglican Church of Kenya, Holy Trinity, Majoni Parish in Mombasa, as Reverend John Karisa Ngamba preached from his house, urging Christians to show love to one another and care for the destitute.
Basi napenda kuuliza Wakristo na wote wenye uwezo ambao Bwana amewabariki na mali, hata kama si nyingi, kwa ile kidogo umebarikiwa, tuweze kuwafikia wale ambao hawana.
Parklands Baptist Church Reverend Ambrose Nyengau was streaming his sermon online, urging Christians not to lose hope in the face of adversity.
Awesome day, because the same Christ who walked into the houses of those people, the same Christ is walking through us. It's a very different service, very different way of communicating, but it is a platform that God has given us in this season and in this time.
History accounts show similar precautions were undertaken in Italy in 1956 when a plague outbreak hit the region. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Serafina Roby.
And still on the Easter celebrations, Pope Francis and Christians around the world marked a solitary Easter Sunday, forced to celebrate the most joyful day in the liturgical calendar amid the sorrowful reminders of the devastation brought about by the coronavirus pandemic. In his message from Vatican, Italy, Pope Francis, who led an Easter Sunday Mass at an empty St. Peter's Basilica, called for solidarity across the world to confront the challenges posed by the pandemic.
In providing the much-needed hope to Christians across the globe following devastating effects brought about by COVID-19. Pope Francis broke centuries of tradition and live-streamed Easter Sunday Mass to allow the world's 1.3 billion Catholics celebrate their holiest day amid coronavirus lockdown. In his message, Pope Francis calling for solidarity across the world to step up the fight against coronavirus.
In many countries, it has not been possible to approach them, but the Lord has not left us alone. United in our prayer, we are convinced that He has laid His hand upon us.
Pope Francis urging the nations to resist tendencies of selfishness and divisions if the world is to overcome COVID-19.
I encourage political leaders to work actively for the common good, to provide the means and resources needed to enable everyone to lead a dignified life, and when circumstances allow, to assist them in resuming their normal daily activities.
The Pope's virtual prayers were transmitted from an almost empty St. Peter's Basilica before a handful token of faithful, sitting one per pew amid the coronavirus pandemic. Normally, St. Peter's Square would be awash with fresh flowers for Easter, with tulips and orchids decorating the piazza's promenade in a riot of color to underscore Easter's message of life and rebirth following Christ's crucifixion. It was a scene repeated across the world as Catholics followed the Papa's masses said by their priests in their own empty churches and broadcast on television or online.
Oh Christ, and we bless you.
Easter marks the end of Lent, a 40-day period of fasting, penance and prayer that commemorates 40 days Christ spent in the wilderness, where he withstood temptations from Satan. Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Gladys Mungai.
Elsewhere, the Turkana County government has established a 441 million shillings fund meant for relief supplies as part of measures meant to mitigate against adverse effects of the coronavirus. At the same time, the county has also established a COVID-19 emergency response fund to help administration effectively mobilize resources to address the pandemic.
The Amani leader wants the Kenyan government to urgently attend to the plight of Kenyans in the diaspora, referring to the online images showing Kenyans being mistreated in China. Mudavadi decried government silence on the matter. Mudavadi says the explanations and assurances given by both Kenyan government and that of the People's Republic of China are far from convincing.
Our own government seems to be silent on this. We need to know what plans, if any, our government has to evacuate Kenyans, especially those in hardship circumstances in places like China. But beyond China, we need to know what is happening to our people, wherever they may be from home, throughout the world. This is an imperative that the government must address with all the urgency it deserves.
Mudavadi has in the meantime welcomed Saturday's move by the government to ban all uncoordinated distributions of donations to the underprivileged members of the society, noting that this was already creating disorder.
We have beheld sad and saddening spectacles of sections of the political class fishing in the troubled waters of the harsh times that we are all going through. It is immoral and soulless to take advantage of vulnerable poor people in pursuit of selfish political goals.
And following the ban, the government urges all individuals or groups wishing to make donations to notify the Kenya COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund so as to get the necessary support to fulfill this mission. The state, however, urges adherence to public health protocols, including social distancing and wearing of face masks, among others, to curb the spread of COVID-19. Meanwhile, drama unfolded in the city's Ruai estate as Embakasi Central Member of Parliament Benjamin Gathiru was arrested for breaking the curfew directive. The Member of Parliament was among several others who were arrested at a pub in Ruai against a government directive ordering the closure of all bars. County Commander Philip Ndolo confirmed the arrests. And in Kiambu County, public service vehicle operators operating along the Kiambu-Limuru route are accusing police for harassment at roadblocks, saying that they are using excessive force while blocking them from accessing parts of Kiambu County. Pacifica Ongecha, a PSV operator in Limuru, said having parts of Kiambu on partial lockdown is causing them more suffering as it has become impossible to operate their businesses.
Tunasema tuelezwe vizuri tukaweza kuelewa, kwa sababu hakuna haja basi ya kuja kazini asubuhi ikiwa utajua vizuri utafika pale alafu urudishwe na umetumia mafuta. Kuna challenge na tunataka tuelezwe, tupatiwe mwelekeo. Tunajua janga la corona ni jambo ambalo ni nzito, na labda lazima sisi zote tuweze kushikana mikono pamoja tukaweza kuwa na njia ile tunaweza fata, lakini tunastahili kuelekezwa na njia ambayo inastahili ili pia sisi kama wafanyi biashara tusije tukahangaika.
Beatrice Gatonyengetich, Channel 1 News.
Authorities in the coast region have heightened surveillance within Kilifi, Mombasa and Kwale counties that have been under partial lockdown since Wednesday after they were declared COVID-19 hotspots. Police have mounted roadblocks along major roads in the region in efforts to deter those intent on flouting the latest government guidelines. And as Junior Karisa reports, no positive case of coronavirus has been reported at the roadblocks.
At the Shanz roadblock, police are busy implementing the partial lockdown, with essential service providers forced to undergo the mandatory checkup procedure before proceeding with their journey. According to Kisauni OCPD Julius Kiragu, many have been forced to turn back after flouting lay-down procedures.
We have genuine cases where people maybe they have a genuine reason to go to Kilifi or to come to Mombasa, especially when maybe they have a sick person, or maybe they're transporting essential commodities like food, petrol, and all these other things. They are stipulated in the directives here. We've not had any problem with Panya Road. We don't have Panya Roads around here.
To date, no case has been reported at the various roadblocks by the Ministry of Health officials, though requisite emergency procedures have been put in place, a situation replicated at Mwakirunge roadblock.
The road is clear, there are no movement. These are signs that we are adhering to the strict rules as we are guided.
If you find a case here, what exactly is the first response that you guys have in place?
We take you to hospital. We have a guy from the public health. So if the temperature is not okay, we take you straight away to the hospital.
It will take a person 10 minutes on foot to get to the Mtwapa roadblock, where the state of activities mirrors that of Shanz roadblock. The driver of this matatu, turned private tour van, appeared to have pushed his luck too far. Police will forgive him, but not without a warning. County health officials are on standby to sanitize and check temperatures for those seeking to cross to the 3 counties. Along the ever-busy Likoni-Kwale Road, the Shikadabu roadblock witnessed low traffic. Area OCS taking charge of the operations, with vehicles moving in and out of the county subjected to mandatory screening. Those walking on foot appear to have been exempted from the thorough checks, with border operators allegedly using undesignated roads to cross to the neighboring county of Kwale. Mombasa County leads with 26 confirmed cases, followed by Kilifi with 10 confirmed cases and only 1 case here in Kwale County, bringing a total of 38 confirmed cases at the coast region. However, the county governments here at the coast affirm their readiness in the event of any eventuality. Juni Karisa from Mombasa County.
Thank you so much, Juni Karisa, for that report. Let me have a look at some of your feedback. Harrington Njenga from Emahondo, Kakamega government should provide food to its people, right? And then we have at Kigit Kipelel, right? I just woke up for Channel 1 News Weekend, thank you. And then at Oyugi 927341, tuned in to Channel 1 News Weekend. Thank you for your feedback. Keep them coming at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News. The hashtag is Channel 1 News Weekend. And globally, the death toll from the coronavirus pandemic now stands at 110,000 people. In the latest figures, more than 20,000 people have died in the United States, surpassing Italy's tally of 19,000 people. The grim milestone comes shortly after the U.S. became the first nation to record more than 2,000 COVID-19 deaths in just a single day.
It has been 1 month since the World Health Organization declared the novel coronavirus outbreak a pandemic. The outbreak, which emerged in the Chinese city of Wuhan last December, has so far killed at least 109,000 people and infected more than 1.7 million people worldwide. The United States death toll on Saturday climbed to 20,608, surpassing that of Italy, which is reporting 19,468 deaths. The grim milestone was reached as the country reported more than 530,000 cases. The U.S. has the most coronavirus-related deaths in the world. Spain, the European country with the most reported coronavirus infections, has confirmed that the daily death toll has risen by 619 on Sunday from a nearly 3-week low of 510 on Saturday, the health ministry said, breaking a 3-day streak of daily declines. The country's total death toll from the virus climbed to 16,972. Iran's death toll from COVID-19 has risen by 117 in the past day to 4,474, Health Ministry spokesperson has said. Iran has been the country hardest hit by the pandemic in the Middle East. The United Kingdom recorded 917 deaths over the last 24 hours, raising the total death toll to 9,875. This even as British Prime Minister Boris Johnson was said to be making good progress in his recovery from COVID-19. Meanwhile, Japan's health ministry recorded 714 new coronavirus cases and 4 deaths on Saturday. This is the 5th day in a row the country has seen a record spike in the number of cases. And China reported 99 new confirmed cases of novel coronavirus and no additional deaths at the end of Saturday, according to the country's National Health Commission. Elsewhere, South Korea has announced that it will strengthen measures for travelers from the U.S., extending the same requirement that previously only applied to travelers from Europe, the country's Center for Disease Control Director announced on Sunday. From Monday midnight, everyone traveling from the U.S. will be required to test for coronavirus within 3 days of entry. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
With health experts working overtime to develop a vaccine for COVID-19, various remedies have been floated around though no definite treatment has been recommended by the World Health Organization. But what should you do until the world develops a vaccine for the deadly disease? Take a look.
How to protect oneself before vaccine is ready. A new virus called the Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2 was identified as the cause of COVID-19 outbreak that began in China in 2019. The disease that has since been declared a pandemic by the World Health Organization continues to devastate the globe, with at least 1.8 million cases and 110 deaths confirmed across the globe. If you're infected by coronavirus, then for most people it would be mild and can be treated at home with bed rest, paracetamol, and plenty of fluids. Some patients may, however, develop more severe symptoms and need hospital treatment. What can people do to protect themselves from the disease in the absence of a vaccine? Vaccines prevent infections, and the best way of doing that at the moment is good hygiene. Stay aware on the latest information on the COVID-19 outbreak as provided by the World Health Organization and the Ministry of Health. Most people who become infected experience mild illness and recover, but it can be more severe for others. Take care of your health and protect others by doing the following: wash your hands frequently, maintain social distancing, avoid touching eyes, nose and mouth, practice respiratory hygiene. If you have a fever, cough and difficulty breathing, seek medical care early. Stay informed and follow advice given by your healthcare provider. You can reach the Ministry of Health through emergency toll-free line 080-072-1316 or through 0729-471414 and 0732-353535 for more information. You can get more information on COVID-19 by calling 719 or dialing *719# on your phone.
Now allow me to take a short commercial break. Of course, we still have much more here on Channel 1 News Weekend. Tell us what you have been up to this holiday season. Remember, there is no, following the ban of movement, especially from Nairobi to other counties, even to Mombasa, Kwale and Kilifi, at Purity_Museo and at KBC Channel 1 News. Also, some of the measures you're taking, to prevent yourself from getting the deadly coronavirus. I will be having a look at your feedback before the tail end of the
What has been your greatest challenge as a parent during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic situation? As we wait for the pandemic to be over at home, COVID-19 has given us an opportunity to reconnect with our children. Join Nakada during Good Morning Kenya Breakfast Show as we discuss positive parenting. Remember, parenting is all about you. Nakada, for a nation free from alcohol and drug abuse.
Baba, mikononi mwako naiweka roho yangu.
Kwa nini mnamtafuta aliye hai kati ya waliokufa? Hayuko hapa, amefufuka. Kumbukeni alivyowaambieni alipokuwa kule Galilaya.
Amani iwe nanyi. Nendeni mkayafunze mataifa, muyabatize yote kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana na la Roho Mtakatifu. Mwafunze wafuate yote niliyowaamuru, na niko pamoja nanyi daima hadi mwisho wa dunia. Amen.
Next on Corner.
Sambona tena basi walikamkuvunja hizi malocks.
Office.
What's wrong? There's been a break-in at the gym.
You both seem to know something I don't.
You seem to think I had something to do with this.
Look me in the eye and tell me you had nothing to do with this.
Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. The Salaries and Remuneration Commission is on the spot over its calls to stop counties from awarding special allowances to its healthcare workers handling the COVID-19 pandemic. Central Organization of Trade Unions Secretary General Francis Atwoli wants SRC disbanded, saying the body has overstepped its mandate. SRC, through a letter to the Council of Governors, had warned counties against giving allowances to healthcare workers, arguing that the remuneration allowances will promote inequality among healthcare providers.
The decision by some counties to offer healthcare workers a special allowance for working under challenging conditions in the fight against coronavirus could seem as the right move to many, but it is one that the Salaries and Remuneration Commission has categorically opposed. The tough stance by SRC attracting condemnation from Kotu boss Francis Atwoli, who wants the body disbanded, saying it has no constitutional obligation to be consulted on counties' decisions over such emergency issues.
Any employer, particularly the devolved system in Kenya, governors and their governance and their county governments are independent mean presidents of those counties, and they can make decisions, quick decisions on the people that they lead.
Atwoli says the salary regulator body is overstepping its mandate.
An investor would like to negotiate freely with his employee and construct contracts without interference of anybody else. Government, for that matter, is the main employer. County governments are employers, and they must be given leeway to make decisions independently. That SRC is not reflected in the new coming constitutional arrangements.
Governor Alfred Mutua, who had earlier in the week announced special allowance of between 5,000 to 20,000 shillings per month to healthcare workers in his county, says his administration will continue to provide allowances to especially health workers and will even look for other ways of motivating them. Mutua saying he will not be cowed by letters from people who are not in touch with the reality on the ground.
Tuanze kufikiria kwamba hii SRC kweli tunahitaji katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Ikiwa wakati kama huu wa afya, reaction yao, hata hawakunipigia simu, hata hawakuniandikia barua kuniuliza how are you doing it or why are you doing it, wanipatie advice, yao ni kuishu barua ya kujaribu kunishtua na kushtua wengine. Kweli hawa watu kweli, do we really need such a commission in Kenya?
Council of Governors Chairperson Wycliffe Oparanya has since responded, saying the county's Public Service Board has the mandate to review remuneration at the county level. Caroline Kamar reporting for Channel 1 News.
To some politics, Deputy President William Ruto has dismissed Jubilee Party Secretary General's stand that the changes in the party's National Management Committee were sanctioned by the party's hierarchy. Using his Twitter account, the Deputy President, who doubles up as the Jubilee's Deputy Party leader, termed the recent changes as illegal, saying they were made by individuals whose party allegiance is already elsewhere. The development coming as supremacy battles played once again in Kirinyaga County, with a section of area residents calling for the resignation of their governor over alleged graft.
The cracks in the ruling Jubilee Party continue to become more visible following changes to the members of the party's National Management Committee, which Party Secretary General Raphael Tuju says were sanctioned by the party's hierarchy. Deputy President William Ruto, who objected the changes by writing to the Office of Registrar of Political Parties, dismissed Secretary General's position, terming the changes as illegal. Dismissing media reports, Ruto used his Twitter handle to dismiss the changes, describing those behind them as engaging in an illegal exercise. Ruto saying that their political affiliation lies elsewhere and as such should leave the Jubilee Party alone. Elsewhere in Kirinyaga County, pressure continues to pile against Governor Anne Waiguru to resign, with a section of residents of Gariama Ward, Gishogu constituency, staging a demonstration claiming the governor has abandoned them. The residents, who are from the governor home area, lamented that the county chief has neglected them and efforts to get her for assistance have failed. This as the embattled governor welcomed Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission to probe the county's management of funds. In a statement, the governor says independent investigations are the only objective means of establishing fault. The Kirinyaga County Board says partisan MCAs or other persons pushing political agenda for their masters must not be allowed to detract those in leadership. Kevin Washira, Channel 1 News.
Elsewhere, Anglican Church of Kenya Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit has welcomed the move to extend curfew hours in Ngararo area of TRANSMARA over increased cases of insecurity. Ole Sapit says the move will help improve the situation, even as he called on the two warring clans to embrace a dialogue in resolving their disputes.
Religious leaders have voiced their concern over the recent instability witnessed in Kararo area of TRANSMARA in Narok County over the emotive issue of land leading to the killing of one person and torching of several houses. Anglican Church of Kenya Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit hailing the move by Rift Valley Regional Commissioner George Natembea to extend the curfew hours in the volatile area, which will now be observed between 4 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Tunaunga mkono ile curfew ameweka. Mtu yeyote ambaye ataonekana akitaka kuangamiza maisha ya mwingine, huyo achukuliwa hatua na adabu kali, kwa sababu haipaswi mtu yeyote kwenda kuchoma nyumba ya mtu, kwenda kuua mtu, kwenda kunyang'anya mali yake, kwenda kuiba ng'ombe yake ati kwa sababu kuna msoso.
Hakuna haja watu kupigana na kuna janga la corona ambaye ni janga la dunia. Na nataka kuomba kwamba hiyo vita isimame mara moja. Ninaomba kwamba serikali watumie nguvu zote. Tulijaribu na tulikuwa process ya kumaliza.
Ole Sapit reading malice in the recent wrangles, calling on authorities to ensure leaders fueling animosity among locals are not spared.
Siasa hii ambayo inakuja kugawanya watu na kuleta maafa katika maisha ya watu, tunataka kulaani kwa maneno ambayo hata Biblia inakubali tuseme haina nafasi katika maisha ya wanadamu, na haipaswi kusikika kwa century hii, karne hii ya 21.
He further called on the two clans to cease fire and give dialogue a chance, even as he advised elders in the region to talk to the youth who more often fall prey to incitement.
Tujumuike, tufundishe watu wetu ya kwamba kuna vitu ya maana na vitu visivyo vya maana. Hii maisha hata saa hii tumetoka katika ile kwa kimombo tunaita land-based economy. We are no longer on a land-based economy. We are on a knowledge-based economy. Watu wanategemea maarifa na akili, si kipande ya ardhi. Kipande ya ardhi tutawacha na saa ingine haina manufaa.
Nancy Okware, Channel 1 News.
The Kenya Forest Service has integrated communities living around gazetted forest in their reforestation efforts amid concerns that the coronavirus pandemic might delay efforts to reclaim the country's forest cover. The service has already partnered with the private sector to grow 40 million seedlings for planting during the rainy season.
The country has been facing environmental challenges in recent years, a phenomenon that has been attributed to degradation of the country's forests. The Kenya Forest Service now engaging high gear by partnering with other stakeholders to grow seedlings. A brief tour of Moringato Tree Nursery in Nyeri County, a testament of the ongoing efforts. According to Nyeri County Ecosystem Conservator Moses Ndegwa, the county has currently raised about 3 million seedlings ready for planting during the long rain season.
We have about 3 million seedlings in the whole of the county. 1.3 are seedlings that are produced by KFS. Then we have allowed 1.7 on the farmers, in the farmlands. Of course, we also encourage them to do private nurseries.
But this would not have been possible without the help of community forest associations.
Forest Station has got a community forest association because we co-manage our forest stations with the communities, whereby each and every forest station has got its own community that we call a CFA. Those CFAs are the people that we use actually to do the plantings, to protect against fires, and all that have you.
A visit to Kafaru Forest Tree Nursery, an indication that the concept is slowly achieving the desired goals.
So we solely depend on the community, and that is why I mentioned chairman is very crucial in this, because he is the one who commands the community.
What we have done, according to the community, we have arranged them. Every person has to do work for 1 hour per week. When they come here, they have to do pricking, weeding, watering, and any other work within the nursery.
But what is the process of getting a good viable tree seedling?
We start getting seeds from carefully. Once we get our supply from carefully, we go to the seed bed where we do the sowing. When they germinate with the first cotyledon leaves, we either transplant them to the tubes or swaziland bands. That act of transplanting is called pricking out. Then in that, as they are growing either in tubes or in swaziland bands, we do root pruning. The purpose of root pruning is to harden them so that it takes very little water, very little nutrients, and it is hardened as it's now being prepared to go and plant to the field.
KFS Chief Conservator of Forests Julius Kamau said the country needs to plant 1.8 billion quality tree seedlings by 2022 if it is to actualize the 10% forest cover dream.
We as a Kenya Forest Service from the early days had made many investments in our tree nurseries, because every forest station is supposed to have a working and a vibrant tree nursery. Over time, these nurseries, basically because of funding and other aspects, they were kind of dilapidated. But now, for the last 1 year, we have made a commitment as Kenya Forest Service to renew and revamp all these tree nurseries so that they are able to produce optimally the number of seedlings that we need to get from them.
Kamau saying communities rather than government agencies should play more proactive roles in forestation efforts.
And community forestation basically come in terms of helping us to restore the degraded areas, and also in the plantation, we also provide them an opportunity to help us to plant trees, at the same time plant their crops through what we call the PLIGHT system. And this is basically to support them in terms of food security. At the same time, they help us to grow our forest plantations especially.
Kamau saying Kenya Forest Service is adequately prepared to achieve the vision despite the coronavirus pandemic that continues to devastate the globe.
Tree planting is not a Kenya Forest Service affair. It is basically a Kenyan affair. And for that reason, we have been able to even to map the seedlings that are available in the private sector. And therefore, we are encouraging Kenyans, wherever they are, in their own farms, as they do plantings of their maize and the beans and the rest, they can also integrate their aspect and culture of planting trees on their farm. As Kenya Forest Service across the country, through the ecosystem conservators, through the forestation managers, we continue to plant the seedlings that are in our nurseries, and this is happening as we speak across the country.
The main agenda of the National Tree Planting Campaign project is to grow seedlings and plant them across the country so as to contribute to the achievement of 10% tree cover by year 2022.
We developed the planting program basically in the entire country. We know what needs to be planted, where in the entire country, and this program has been shared across all our governance structures. And every station manager as we speak today, because they are the one actually who gave us the data anyway. What we did at the national headquarters is to analyze the data and take it back to them. So they are guided on where they want to plant and what they must be able to plant. And therefore the planting is going on, and we expect it to continue as long as the wrong lanes are able to be sustained.
The journey to achieve the country's 10% forest cover is very well on course, with various tree nurseries around the country raising over 3 million seedlings in preparation for the National Tree Planting Campaign. And with the current situation facing the country, people are now turning back to nature for harmony and tranquility. People need forests, but now more than ever, forests need people. For Channel 1 News, I am Emily K. Bade.
Thank you so much, Emily Key, for that report. Elsewhere, Garissa Deputy Governor Abdi Dagane has warned local traders against hiking food prices following restriction of movement by the government. The move was part of the raft of radical measures announced by the government aimed at containing the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's more highlights in the County News Roundup.
A kilogram of tomato that went for 80 shillings in Garissa is now selling at 160 shillings, with the same applying to other cereals like beans and vegetables. Speaking at Garissa main prison camp, where he delivered hand-washing detergents donated by the Kenya Progressive Nurses Association, Garissa Deputy Governor Abdi Dagane urged traders not to take advantage of the situation to create food shortage exacerbated by hoarding.
People in the diaspora, others outside the borders of Garissa County, family members in Nairobi, other parts of this nation, to please assist their brothers and sisters in Garissa.
In Eldoret, a woman who was forced to sleep in a roofless house owing to rent arrears is a relieved mother after a well-wisher came to her aid. The Good Samaritan paid 6-month rent for Ven Bosibori, whose plight was highlighted after she spent nights in the cold when her landlady removed her roof of a 500 shilling debt. Elsewhere in Buhwaya village, Kakamega County, a family is in mourning following the demise of their sibling who died under unclear circumstances. There are claims, however, that the deceased consumed illicit brew carted away from his employer, and it is believed that he consumed more than he could handle.
Amekufa na ikaonekana yeye vile anafanyanga watu kazi ya jua kali, alifanya kazi kwa hiyo poma kung'oa mawe, alafu baadaye ikaonekana alikunywa pombe kupita kiasi.
And the government has been urged to consider stopping all development projects to face the looming catastrophe brought by the COVID-19 pandemic. Nyaduno Ward MCA Dennis Kinyanjui, while issuing face masks and hand sanitizers to residents of Kiambu County, observed that some families are already grappling with the challenge of food shortage. Finally, in Kisii County, Monumari residents in Marani sub-county are living in fear after thieves took advantage of the ongoing coronavirus curfew to steal their dairy animals. Despite combined night patrols by police and village security committee members, the thieves are not only daring to go in for the livestock, but also household items.
Naomba serikali mtusaidie. Hii kijiji yetu wizi imekuwa wingi kusinda. Kuku, mambusi kutoka kwa nyumba, majikoni, wanatawanga vitu wanaenda kila wakati na kila siku nyumba kwa nyumba. Lakini wametudanganya sana. Na hii ng'ombe ndio inatusaidia kama chai, kama mimi mama ni chai ninakunywanga, ninaenda kwa samba na watoto wako wachukuu wangu, hii ni maziwa wanataka wakunywe.
Yusuf Farah, Channel 1 News Hour.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's now have a look at some sports. Athletics Kenya will be forced to come up with a new calendar of events for the second phase of the year after World Athletics came up with new guidelines. World Athletics called on its affiliates to host their national championships on the weekend of August 8th to 9th following the disruption of the international competition calendar by the coronavirus pandemic. AK President Jackson Tuwei said it will be possible to host the national championships on the proposed dates, but that preparations will start much earlier. The national championships were due for May 8th to 10th at the Nyayo National Stadium, but have since been postponed. Real Sociedad are set to become the first team in Spain to allow their players to return to training since the coronavirus outbreak in the country. The La Liga club outlined a series of precautionary measures that could come into effect as early as Tuesday. In England, Arsenal FC has told their players they can avoid suffering a pay cut following suspension of the Premier League, but will have to qualify for the Champions League to do so when the season commences.
Arsenal FC has reportedly told their first-team players that they will have to take wage cuts unless they are playing Champions League football next season. The Gunners have not appeared in Europe's elite competition since the 2016-2017 season and were looking unlikely to qualify in the current campaign as they sat in 9th position when football was suspended amid the ongoing coronavirus crisis. The Gunners' hopes of qualifying for the Champions League were dashed further when they were knocked out of the Europa League by Olympiacos at the last 32 stage in February, although their form has generally been much improved under new manager Mikel Arteta. A number of Arsenal's key players are still being linked with an exit from the club, with the likes of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Alexander Lacazette reportedly being eyed by some of Europe's elite teams.
Yes! You're on five! Yes! Play, well done!
In Spain, Real Sociedad players will be allowed to train in reduced groups, with medical staff overseeing training. Small groups of a maximum of 2 or 3 players are allowed to train together, with a recommended COVID-19 test upon arrival to training. La Liga has been suspended since the beginning of March, and League President Javier Tebas has said football in Spain is unlikely to resume until the end of May at the earliest. Spain has been in lockdown since March 14th, but Saturday saw the country record its lowest number of deaths for 19 days. While the formal lockdown is likely to continue until May, some restrictions will be lifted on Monday.
Right, and that's it for sports this Sunday night. Lawrence Mwendwa watching Channel 1 News Weekend. Ronald Shangi, always sanitize, keep yourself through this COVID-19. Just take care of yourselves. Thank you for that advice. And then Bruno Sonko watching Channel 1 News Weekend. Quickly, let me have a look at the Facebook responses or feedback. Blessed boy child, actually it's never a secret that COVID-19 is dangerous, but at the same time one can recover. But we should not think just because one can recover, we should not protect ourselves. Actually, some people don't know that they have other sicknesses, so everyone should take care. Wow, you're so informed. Thank you for that. Shama Meditas Akelo watching Channel 1 News Weekend. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of this part of Channel 1 News Weekend. Like I promised you earlier, in the next 30 minutes or so, I will be speaking with Henry Minor, who is representing persons with hearing impairment. Of course, we do know that the COVID-19 has really affected the global economy. And of course, from the curfew to the partial lockdown of at least 4 counties in the country, how are they surviving? How are they coping up, especially with the business? Use of masks, the fact that for them it's expressions, facial expressions for them to communicate with other people. How are they doing this? You do not want to miss that conversation that is coming your way shortly after this short second commercial break.
On the next episode of Elena's Ghost.
How is it that Eduardo figured out that my baby's his? I want you and your wife to leave the estate.
You know perfectly well that I'm not going to leave here, and much less now.
I'll never be able to love Michael as much as I loved you. Get out of here, Monte Cristo.
And what are you gonna do? Are you gonna scream? Scream, scream, scream.
It's Elena.
What?
You have to help her.
What happened to Elena?
It's Monte Cristo.
Every Monday evening, we take you back where the action happened.
We cheer up your Monday blues.
Our cameras rove all week to cover the latest in the enormous showbiz scene.
We show you what you missed even if you were present.
Grapevine gives 100% support to the local entertainment content.
From celebrity buzz,
music,
fashion,
and all manner of entertainment and youth talent.
Watch Grapevine every Monday at 10 p.m.